Good morning, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? Welcome to Warriors Ways podcast. Today, we are with Jaeden.
Stoked to be on the podcast, man.
Thank you for coming out, man. I appreciate you coming on Warriors Ways. Warriors Ways is dedicated to individuals who has demonstrated resilience and triumph over challenges and adversity. I'm talking about warriors who found a way. And my friend, after knowing you, you found many ways to make sure that you are resilient in anything that you do and you power through. So it's an honor to have you on the show, man. I appreciate you coming out.
Well, stoked to be here. And for those listening, I'm sure you all know Jeff's an absolute legend. The man goes through a motorcycle accident, breaks his leg, gets part of his leg, put the whole thing back together to avoid amputation. Man. Insanity, second chance at life. So You're an inspiration, and yeah, stoked to be on the show.
Oh man, I appreciate you saying that, man. It hasn't been an easy journey, but we've been, we gotta find a way. We gotta find a way to make sure that we stay on a positive journey, right? 100%. Staying positive is a key to even surviving such a thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you didn't know, Jaeden is a top artificial intelligence voice, man. And he's an AI founder of AI Box and an AI chat podcast host. Jaeden, man, you are a man of many crafts, man. Tell us about you and tell us about what inspires you to just what inspires you with the journey you chose on AI, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like with AI specifically, it kind of started just with like tech in general and business in general, always being kind of interested in business and entrepreneurship. And it kind of led to that after college. My wife, she studied computer science. And so she was kind of into like making apps when she was in college. And she had a great idea for an app. So we kind of worked on that for a couple years. And then most recently, so that was called Self-Pause. It's the #1 AI life coach. We grew it to like 130,000 users. And then we had the idea for AI Box. And so this is kind of the new thing I've been working on for the last year. But yeah, I think for me, it's just like always looking at what can add value to people's lives. I think businesses are successful and they work when you give something for free. So that's been a big driver of like the success of my podcast, and I hope a big driver of the success of AI Box. We're looking to launch it in the next couple months. So yeah, it's just I've had a lot of people help me, whether that's free content from YouTubers or other people, or tools that have been really beneficial for me starting businesses. So hoping to kind of put that back out and help others as well.
Wow. So how long you been when you started AI Box? What was the driving key for you to want to grow that and to want to bring people on? Like, how was that journey and how hard was it when you started? Because you have to be completely intelligent to understand the new age of AI, and to also have so much knowledge to share and help people like businesses come and just be able to use AI to advance in their business, either to enhance their skill or productivity. So tell us, like, how is you didn't study AI in college?
No, like I'm a non-technical founder, meaning like I'm not a developer or anything. Yeah, with AI Box specifically, it was after we'd done Self-Pause. It's a AI life coach, and we saw how beneficial like AI could be. For me, it was like how useful and how much it could help people. So I have a friend who's now the CTO of AI Box, and there came a point like a year and a half ago where I really wanted to get into a new AI startup, and I kept harassing him with like new AI business ideas like every day. He was working on a project at the time that was doing really well, and eventually, he was telling me like if it was possible to do this or that, whatever. Eventually, after like getting 10 business ideas pitched to him a day for like 2 weeks, he's like, look, man, like you can't build all your 100 different AI business ideas. You just need to build one single platform that allows you or anyone to create all of those. And so that's what we set out to do with AI Box. It's really a way for anyone with any idea or any use case, any way that you use ChatGPT or AI, or you make you develop a useful prompt on Midjourney to make a specific type of image. You can upload your prompts, you can connect different AI models, and you can essentially create a tool out of your idea, whatever that is, or your AI use case. Then you could take that tool, put it on our marketplace, and share it with your friends or anyone else. And anytime someone uses that tool, you get a royalty for the usage of essentially what you created. So we kind of came up with this idea. We felt like we nailed it because about a year later, OpenAI launched a similar product, except it's just for kind of like their AI models, and we're going to be doing it with thousands of AI models and thousands of software integrations all kind of working together. So ours is a bit bigger of a vision, but it felt very validating that the number one company innovating in AI right now had kind of the same vision like a year after we kind of started on this.
That must be an incredible journey to just get it to where it's at now.
100%, yeah, totally.
Man, but so with that being said, I have a few questions. Today, because it's a new age thing. AI is a new age thing where some of us, who, let's say like the older generation, they're not really familiar with AI right now. It's kind of a new thing to businesses, to even people who CEOs or a regular individual. But knowing that the young people now just know the benefits of AI, and it can also help people who are less experienced in their role, right? And it can help speed out on that. So, it's according to some research, it says AI will affect almost 40% of jobs around the world. Replacing some or even complementing some. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher, to be honest. I think we have two kind of elements to it. Number one is like the way AI is replacing maybe how people are doing things, like a lot of white collar stuff, right? Like, I'm in marketing and you can use AI to automate like a ton of what you do in marketing. You kind of still need a person directing like the projects for now. We'll see, how long it lasts, but you still need a person directing the projects. I think what it does right now is makes one individual 10 times more productive. And so, yeah, anyways, I think that's a big element to it, but I think a bigger element that a lot of people are sleeping on, I've talked to you about this in the past, is robotics mixed with AI. Essentially, like, people are like, oh, it'll replace white collar stuff, but it's never going to replace like an electrician or a plumber. As soon as you add like a humanoid robot that can do anything, then you start replacing all sorts of jobs. And like, to be honest, I'm not even necessarily sure that's a bad thing, because you have some of these super dangerous jobs where you're at the top of a skyscraper putting something on, and there's all sorts of, like safety risks or things. And wouldn't it be great if it wasn't like a human that was putting their life at risk for some sort of, I talked to someone recently that he was working on like autonomous airplane delivery. And for his thing, they're helping companies that were delivering medical supplies to like war zones. And he's like, obviously people in these areas, like, they need medical help. Like, there's people that are really suffering, but if you send like a human pilot in, there's still the odds, like, this is, it's a dangerous zone. There's the odds that the airplane gets shot down, and you're putting their life at risk. And so I think there's so many of these automated AI and also robotics areas that can have a serious positive impact on especially high risk, dangerous jobs.
Wow. That's very true. I was thinking the other day, you thinking at a high level. You're thinking about, the benefits bring on a higher level, like in, delivering medical supplies. Mm-hmm. That's so crazy, even, with everything that's happening now. Like, AI is needed, like, in what's happening in, like, places like in Israel or any other places that's having, wars and everything that's happening right now. if somebody with, like, if the United States wants to help another country, they can use that AI, a robotic, to deliver that without risking a life.
Yeah, it's
That's
super interesting stuff.
It really is. Well, and I was thinking the other day, man, you know, you drive around in Tempe now or Scottsdale, you see Waymo.
Yeah,
You see
yeah.
a whole self-driving cars, man. You know, it's like, what do you think about that? Because that's like they're already starting to take over certain jobs.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's cool. Arizona's kind of like a unique place because it's like a grid system for like everything. So it got early approval for all of these automated like self-driving car companies where like not all cities are as easy. Also, there's like not a lot of weather variability. It's just like kind of hot and dry here all the time.
Yeah.
I guess there's monsoon season, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I think Arizona is a really good candidate for that kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty much, I swear, it's like every day when I'm driving home, I get stuck behind a Waymo somehow, and I'm just like, but no, I think it's cool technology. I mean, there's debates on it. Elon Musk tends to think that all the sensors and cameras all over the cars are unnecessary, and you could just do it with like Teslas are getting close. So yeah, I don't know. There's lots of debates. It'll be interesting to see what the long-term winner in that is. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think it's if it saves us time and energy. Like, here's the thing. There's a big conversation, and a lot of people complain, like, with automation. So, for example, they'll complain about taxi drivers losing their job or Uber drivers. But it's like, at the end of the day, anything that we can automate is, in my opinion, just raising the global standard of living. Because I'm sure when dishwashers were first invented, a dishwasher in a restaurant complained that their job was getting automated. But no, they could just load more dishwashers faster and get more stuff done, you know? And so, yeah, anytime you can get a machine to do something for a human, it frees up more human capital to work on things that, I mean, not that this will happen, but there is the ability to work on more interesting or exciting or helpful things. So yeah, I think it's probably net positive for the world.
It's absolutely positive. I absolutely agree with it because we can work faster. And if we have something working on something that we will put hours and hours into it, and you can get it in a short amount of time, you can be focusing on other things like, you know, your personal growth.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Personal growth and living that abundance in life, you know, living abundantly instead of, you know, going against it and not being open to working quicker. And, you know, I get the idea of, you know, working with your hands or just wanting to, but you get people now wanting to do it faster and more because, you know, the volume of what you do, if you want success, you're going to get high volume, you know, in your business or whatever. But using AI will help you, you know, like you said, you know, add more revenue, add more, you know, like demand on your business.
And I think something that a lot of people are like concerned about, or like, I guess an argument I hear like against the AI. Well, first off, make all the arguments you want. If it's economically viable, like it's going to happen. You know what I mean? But something interesting I hear a lot of people talking about is they complain like, oh, you know, there's like all this job loss that will occur. In my opinion, this is like the wrong framing, because what you have to think about is like, what are the new opportunities? So for example, take like the self-driving car thing. Like, yes, you could say, oh, it's going to be bad for Uber drivers because everything's going to be an automated car. Well, Tesla has announced a program where if you buy a Tesla, you can add it to they're going to have a robo-taxi fleet.
Wow.
You can add your car to the robo-taxi fleet. So let's say you're at like work on the office all day. Your car is going to be driving people around, and it'll come park itself back at your office. So you can take it, go home, and you'll get paid for like the usage of all of that. So like, I think there's all sorts of great ways that like you can make money.
And you can invest.
And you can invest. And so I think like at the end of the day, that's the way to like think about it, is like, what are the opportunities that this can bring, rather than jobs will always shift and automation and like that stuff's always going to happen. One interesting thing that you mentioned though is like working with your hands. And I just heard about this company. I thought this was hilarious. They do, it's an AI. So Stripe had this big like event, the payment company, and they like had this big, huge like marble statue that was like at their event. And they said the marble statue is made by this AI company that it can like carve marble statues. Anyways, and you go to this marble statue website and you find you find like, I think, what was it? It was like $7,500 and you can get like a bust made of like your head, like carved into marble, which I think is hilarious. Like two things. Number one, I'm like, if a human carved that, like I have no idea. It was like, what would that cost you? Like $100,000? Like that'd be crazy. Anyways, not something that I ever knew I needed, but now I kind of want a marble bust in my head made by AI. We'll see,
right.
you know?
Right. It's like the other day we mentioned being at the gym, you know, having a robot spotter.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, I mean, that could be something somebody will create one of these days, dude. But no, but it's so crazy, the competition that, you know, even AI brings. It provides us to be more creative, to be more, you know, our minds to be more awake, and being in a, you know, imagine the impossible becoming possible. You know, so it's like, you know, Elon Musk with Tesla having a fleet, like a service for, you know, with your Tesla, that's super genius, man. You know, because, you know, like Teslas don't even cost a lot of money. They cost, you know, the same. If you're driving like a Suburban, you know,
after gas,
like you're not spending a lot of money. If you invest in a Tesla and you use it for that, dude, that's crazy investment right there. And it'll be even paying on itself. You know what I mean? So wild. So, one other question that I have is, how do you see AI impacting, you know, various industries in the next decade?
Well, I think a couple things will happen. It'll impact every industry to some like degree. Well, probably to like a large degree, every industry. But I also think that right now it's like cool and like a buzzword about AI, but like in the future, it's just going to become like synonymous with just like, oh yeah, AI is just a thing embedded in every business, and maybe like virtual reality, or there'll be other like waves of technology that will be like the big buzz and focus. Right now, it's kind of the big buzz and focus. It's going to get embedded and have massive impacts on everything, but also I don't think it's always going to be like the big focus. We're not always going to be talking about like how's AI impacting this or that, because it's kind of like mobile. Like we don't sit here and like after the iPhone came out, I'm sure everyone was talking about like how the iPhone and how mobile was going to impact every business. And today it's just not something we think about. We're just like, yeah, like if you have a website, you just have like it's on mobile as well, and it's just whatever, and then you just move on. You don't really think about it. So I think it'll probably be something similar to that, where it's like embedded, used in everything, very well known, but it's not like the big hype thing we focus on.
Wow. I agree on that. Just like the iPhone idea is huge, because people were talking about what it's gonna bring, and it just embedded now. It's an easy thing to use now, you know. So I also see that happening as well. Man, that's crazy. But my other question, I have a few more questions here. So tell us the difference between narrow AI and general AI.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple things. Narrow AI is more focused. It's like an AI essentially system that's focused on doing one very narrow specific task.
Yeah.
So it's like if you trained an AI to be able to, you know, to be able to just like write an article and that's all it could do, or like in a very specific way, or like if you trained like a robot at a factory to be able to pick something up and move it. Like, so there's like narrow use cases. And then general is what a lot of people are quite excited about today is like general purpose AI or AGI, artificial general intelligence. And that's essentially an AI that's generally good at everything. This is kind of where people think like ChatGPT is headed towards. This is what OpenAI's mission is to develop an AGI. And what's interesting with the AGI is it's like, it's not trained necessarily to do one specific thing, but it's like pretty good at everything. And so even I think with ChatGPT, as they're coming up with newer and newer models, we're seeing like really big improvements in what it's able to do. They'll benchmark it and they're like, okay, how good is it at taking like the LSAT, like the to get into law school test, or how good is it at taking like a test to get into like medical school? How good is it at taking, the specific kind of code examination? And it's getting better at all areas, but it's like it's the same model, but it's getting better at all areas together. So eventually that arrives, people say eventually that will arrive at AGI, where it's essentially smarter than humans at everything, and it's just generally intelligent.
Wow. And for humans to use. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we're not competing with AI. We're not competing with robots. People have that misunderstanding of it. Just like we use everything, it's a tool. Mm-hmm. AI is a tool for us to learn and for us to use to make life easier. Life easier in the way we move, in the way we do things. So, even speaking on that, my last question on AI is, how do you ensure fairness and prevent biases, in AI algorithm?
Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of tricky. You have millions of dollars being spent to like develop or work on that. I think at the end of the day, we probably won't ever achieve a perfectly unbiased AI. And the reason I say that is because like people will try, but it's kind of hard because you have the example right now where there's like OpenAI. They're trying to remove some biases out of their model, but they also, whoever's creating it has their own set of biases, and so those inevitably get embedded into it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't love the whole conversation or topic about like pulling biases out, because everyone has some sort of bias, right? And whether they're good or not, like humans have biases, and so since humans are the ones telling the AI not to have biases, like it just means we're changing the biases in the models most of the time. It feels like that's happening, and so a lot of the big AI companies have been pretty heavily criticized on this. For example, Google recently had their Google Gemini model, which is like an image. They had an image creator in their Gemini model, and it was pretty decent at creating images, but it had a problem. They were trying to make it not biased and like support diversity or whatever. Yeah. But because of that, they were like just making things like super inaccurate. Like for example, if you asked it like, give me a historical picture of a Nazi, it was going to make it like a black guy. Okay, well, there was no black Nazis that ever existed, right? So like all sorts of people were offended about that, right? It also, if you asked it to like create the founding fathers, it would like make a picture where it's like one of the founding fathers was like Asian and one of the founding fathers was like Mexican. And it's just like, it's kind of tricky because they're like trying to be inclusive in their way, but inevitably they were embedding their biases in and making things historically inaccurate. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's definitely a tricky problem to solve.
It really is, because AI can be used by anyone. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's no way you can prevent that when everyone is able to use and create their own, like creating that, picture generated thing. And it's someone with a certain mindset can create a picture of their own imagination using AI. Now, it comes out and people do get offended. Like but at the end of the day, they see it and they just, see it as a funny thing. You know what I mean? But it's just people need to see AI as a tool. Like everybody is, and it's accessible and we can better our knowledge using AI. We can better our wisdom using AI. So it's such a pleasure to bring you on to this show and talk about that, because I believe we are, I was saying earlier, we are that next generation.
Totally.
And in order to continue moving on a positive journey of impacting and bringing out and becoming a difference, we have to bring out certain things that are happening in today's world and how our world is evolving, right?
Totally.
And, so I want to go deep into it, man. What are your next vision for what you're doing right now? What's next, and what are you excited about, and what advice would you give to just a normal guy who wants to start a business?
Yeah, well, I mean, personally for me, like the thing I'm really excited about is AI Box. We're getting ready to launch this in the next couple months,
Yeah.
our alpha version. And so that's kind of what I'm gearing up for and working on. That's really exciting to me. What I would say is like, if you want to start a business, one of the best things you can do is look at things you have done in the past or you currently do that make money and find ways for AI to augment those. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like you're starting like an AI company per se, right? Just like how can you use AI to help in your business? Good resources. I host a podcast called AI Hustle. I would go check that out. We come up with different side hustles you can use AI for. There's so much opportunity in this space, I think. But yeah, I think really one of the best things you can be doing right now, because things are changing so rapidly, advice I could say like, oh, use this AI tool to do this thing, to make money doing this thing. Like, that's going to change tomorrow because there's a new company that does a new thing and disrupts that. So I think one of the biggest things you can focus on is like just being up to date on the latest developments, what companies are doing, figure out who the top AI companies are and, subscribe to their newsletters or whatever content they're putting out. And you'll be able to get a pretty good idea of kind of where the landscape is going and how it impacts whether that's your job or your industry or whatever. And I think it's really important right now. Like, I don't know how long this window goes for. And I'm obviously the beneficiary because my podcast, AI Chat, I've done no marketing, just organically that thing got 3 million downloads because everyone's looking for like keeping up to date on this stuff. And so I don't know how long that window happens where it's like, right now, I think it's like really, really important because things are just changing so fast in that space. But yeah, I think it's important to, whether that's subscribing to newsletters or podcasts or something, like get your download going daily or at least weekly of whatever's happening and being updated in the space, because that's how you kind of stay ahead of the curve.
Oh, right, man. I appreciate that. That's incredible. So how can people find you and where can they access those resources and keeping up to date on how can people find you?
Yeah, well, I'm on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And then, check out the podcast. I have AI Hustle. I have one called AI Chat. And both of those are great resources for, staying up to date on what's happening in AI. And you can find those on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. I appreciate you, Jaeden, man. I appreciate you for coming out, and thank you so much for your knowledge and wisdom around this topic. It's I came with a question, like, will AI transform the global economy? I think so. I think it's already changing tremendously, right?
100%.
And you came out and you shared your wisdom with us, and we appreciate you. So for those warriors who are trying to find a way in their business and trying to really excel and become successful, they need to stay up top. They need to stay close to, listening to your podcast, and for them to really excel and grow their businesses and their startup, because it's not easy starting without knowledge and resources like AI and so I encourage everybody to tune in on his podcast, and this is Jaeden, everybody.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother. Good luck with everything, man.
Thanks so much.
All right. Perfect. Yes, sir.